I'm gonna text Ricky.
I don't even.
Hello, and welcome to the first ever live broadcast of Adventures in Movies. Joining me on these ongoing adventures, literally to the east of me, live and in living color.
Me? Am I Jim Carrey in this? I'm Danny, and this is me wearing a mask.
To the left of me, live and uncut.
That's me, Blake Bloodbath.
Like we're setting this up, and I was like, should I put my handle? Should I put my name? Who am I in this whole situation? And I see Blake, I was like, you son of a bitch! I should have done the same thing.
I was thinking about handle, like, is that a term that's used nowadays, or does that go back to CB days? Because I just hear like screen names and tags and.
Honestly, let's be real. The coolest one of all time, Top Gun, call sign. You want to be your call sign is
call sign. I like that one.
Yeah.
So we're live. We're doing something a little different this week, but even though we're live, support for Adventures in Movies is brought to you by Manscaped, one of the best. And when I say one of the best, I mean the best men's below the belt grooming peoples. Blake, you actually had an interesting story that you wanted to tell.
I do, unfortunately. So I know we're a movie podcast, and I know you guys have heard of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Mm-hmm.
But have you ever heard of the Texas Below the Belt Grooming Massacre?
Oh God, no.
All right, well, that's kind of where my moniker came from, Blake Bloodbath. But so I mean, so let's just say, taking an old pair of rusty shears to the family jewel area is not advisable in the 21st century, boys. I would say highly inadvisable, right?
Yeah.
Manscaped has delivered not only a second generation product, a third generation product, the Lawnmower 3.0. And no longer do I have to worry about nicks, snags, chopping the left one off on accident because I can't see. It's dark down there. No, this is a precision instrument. It's got a light ceramic blades. I mean, it's built to last. It's awesome. It feels good in your hand. I'm telling you, it's awesome. You can do all sorts of new styles. I was thinking about this. Everyone's going with like the COVID locks, COVID do. Well, that's cool. Maybe change it up downstairs. I went myself after I got my Lawnmower 3.0 in the mail. I went with a fade. Now that's entirely up to you. How you do. I also have a friend who is a verified AI PT20 user on the site. He's going with mutton chops. So by all means,
he's going
get creative. Get creative. Yes, it's safe. And also, guys, I don't know if you know this as well. They have a bevy of other products. I'm about to order some of the crop cleanser, which is a body and hair wash. They have ball wipes. So I guess it's like you get halfway through the day and you're like, you know what, my balls need a good wipe down.
You know what? That sounds great. Especially right now with all this that's going on right now. You need it. You definitely need it.
I might get a wipe down halfway through this show. I mean, so thank you, Manscaped, for preventing future bloodbaths. Manscaped. The best.
And you do get 20% off and free shipping with the code AIPT20. I know we shouldn't talk about the cons, but if you use Manscaped, you don't get a cool name like Blake Bloodbath.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
Hey, do whatever you want, actually.
Yeah.
Hey, we got some news this week. So Halloween Kills, the sequel to, was it just Halloween? The last one that Danny McBride did?
Yes.
Just Halloween.
Okay, so this is the immediate sequel to that. Officially has been delayed until October 2021. I guess this isn't a big surprise, but how do you guys feel about that?
I didn't even know it was a thing.
Really?
No, I didn't. I haven't really seen the script. It's or followed a lot of the movie news. I've seen a lot of things get pushed over. By the way, can we take off these masks? I'm like sweating. Like I feel like I can't breathe with them.
Oh, sorry, Danny. I'm sure your blood oxygen levels are just fine.
I'm just gonna keep my mask like that. I threw it onto a bouncer. I didn't follow this at all. So it is shocking. I didn't even know a sequel is coming out. So
What did you guys think of the remake or the new one? Not remake, the new one.
I liked it. I thought it was really well done. Danny McBride, obviously a fan of the original. Jamie Lee Curtis is always awesome in horror movies. I kind of wish he stayed in that. And I understand why she expanded her horizons, but she was a very good scream queen. She did a really good job, and I thought they did a good job of it. It's hard with sequels. It's hard with revivals, which we'll talk about a little bit more later. But I think they did a good job with it, especially considering that some of those Halloween movies are very bad.
Better than the Rob Zombie stuff, yeah.
Okay, so I like those Rob Zombie movies. I like this one better than that, but I don't know. Like, I don't remember. I don't remember the Rob Zombie ones as much, or this Danny McBride one. So maybe that's a surprise. Maybe.
I was looking forward to it. Now I'll be honest. I forgot that it was coming out this year, and I didn't remember until they said Halloween, or it's coming out October 2021. I actually thought that's when it was coming out, so it wasn't that big of a deal to me. But something to look forward to. Halloween Kills in 2021. So the Batman. Got some news about that today. Blake, you actually clued me in on what's going on with the Batman.
Yeah, I did. So apparently production has started back up. I guess it's in London. They've done a better job than we have over here, and they're gotten to the back into the swing of things. And I guess that means it's kind of still on track for its original release, which is good. It's important.
Yeah,
that's cool. So I guess the question becomes, if the Batman were to come out, we'll say sometime this year. I know it's not, but if it were, would you be willing to go to a movie theater to see it?
No, not yet. I feel like everything is going to still be very on hold. There's very few movies. There's very few movies that I feel like, I really do want to go see that right away. But no. I think Tenet might be the only one that I'm like, maybe I'm going to do this. But no, not really.
So you will put Tenet above the Batman.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I think I would agree with you, actually, to be honest with you.
Well, so I know Walmart's doing like their drive-in parking lot thing, right? So is that going to be major releases, or is that old movies?
I think it's going to be old movies. I don't know if they even have they're able to distribute brand new movies, unless, because I think they own Voodoo. So if it's straight to
awesome,
so if they're straight to owning, or if they could do that, maybe they can. But I don't really think they will. It'd be probably manager's choice, and they could only show Varsity Blues.
Yeah, no, I would totally do a drive-in. I have a hard time going into a movie theater right now.
Yeah.
That's a tough one, even for Robert Pattinson as the Batman, who I think will do a good job. I
just want him to smash one seagull to bits. Just full bits. I want that in every movie now.
Furiously jack off right afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have in other comic book movie news, The Boys had a trailer come out today. Now, Danny, did you ever end up watching the first season of The Boys?
No, and I feel so terrible about it. Maybe I should start watching it now. I started watching In the Loop, or Tales of the Loop, from Amazon, and that was pretty good.
That's The Boys.
That's The Boys, right?
The Boys, they released a trailer for the second season today. It's coming out September 4th, I believe. But Blake, you saw the trailer. What'd you think? I know you love the first season.
Love the first season. Really like the comics as well. Awesome. It looks like it's a super continuation of what we got immediately after what we got in, which I like. I don't want them to be 4 years later or anything like that. It's picks up right, hyper violent, which is exactly what I would want and expect. And it looks like there's some new heroes in the mix. I'm super excited. I love the Carl Urban's fucking the man. So yeah, I'm down.
He needs more movies.
Yeah, he's the shit.
Yeah, he does. He was awesome in it. It ends on a pretty major cliffhanger. So yeah, I would hate if it was one of those flash forwards type of things. So yeah, I'm super interested in it. I think I wanted to see as one of those things like you see and you're like, oh, that looks interesting, and then you kept talking about it, Blake. So I was like, I gotta get into this, and then yeah, we would just watch it. Like we burned through them. A really, really, really good show, and I can't wait to see the second season.
Yeah.
So something that we've talked about on this show, we dance around the subject a lot, but we've never really dived into it. But we're going to do that tonight. Cancel culture is something that we've talked about a lot in the past few weeks, but we just kind of touch on it and then move on. So I kind of wanted to spend a little more time on it today because there was a lot of news this weekend. I feel that it's gotten a little annoying, but we'll get into that right now. So the thing that really made me think of it is, Danny, last week you brought something up, was Robert Downey Jr. Now, for those people who mistakenly missed the show last week, maybe you can remind them if they haven't heard what happened to Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, so they want to cancel Robert Downey Jr. because he did blackface in Tropic Thunder. Now, if you remember the movie, the character essentially goes a little bit too far to play the characters that he needs. So he's a very character-driven actor. And with this to be in the same role of the African-American fictitious character, he goes to extreme lengths to become darker skinned. He goes through a lot of surgeries. But I guess the cancel culture is just being aware of this satirical film because this movie makes fun of all the tropes that movies go through, like the sequels, the cash-ins, the rappers becoming actors type of thing. Even being insecure about being homosexual. It's all these satirical things that that people in Hollywood go through, and I guess they're just finding this out themselves. I don't get it. I do feel like cancel culture is going a little bit too far. Where a couple of years ago, like James Gunn lost his
all his bullets.
Yeah. No, he lost his chance to direct. I hope that you're very proud of that joke.
I'm not.
That he himself had the chance to direct Guardians of the Galaxy 3, but which he is, but because he said some stupid things 10 years ago, everybody's just trying to get people to get people fired for stupid things that people have grown. And I think this is where the problem is, I think, for the most part, where there is growth in a lot of people, but there's other people that haven't gone to like Amber Heard, who's,
oh boy,
yeah, she should be canceled, and everybody was trying to cancel Johnny Depp for supposedly beating on her, which it was.
Well, I think that's the thing. I think that's something that we should anybody. I hate the term that things are canceled. To be honest with you, here's my thing on cancel culture. Now, before, it's whatever, you don't like something. Blackface is the big one. Jimmy Kimmel, because he did Karl Malone 15, 20 years ago or whatever, he apologized for it. I remember watching the Man Show, and I remember the whole point of it was the kind of, just the title of it. It ended with literally was, and now girls jumping on trampolines. It was supposed to do that kind of stuff. The Karl Malone thing, I don't think it was making fun of. I don't think the intent was to make fun of Black people.
No.
I understand why it's not cool to do it. It's a very hurtful thing to do. Here's the thing. I think cancel culture has gone way too far. The Golden Girls thing that they're pulling from Hulu because the Blanche and Rose are just doing the mud bath, and it has nothing to do with blackface. They're actually embarrassed that they don't want people to think that they're doing blackface. And then the other thing people are upset about is because Dorothy's son is about to marry a Black woman, but it has nothing to do with her being Black. It's because she's the same age as Dorothy.
Right.
So that's what it's about. Also, what no one mentions is Dorothy was raped by Stan. They never, and he's in that show constantly. They never bring it up. Ever.
What?
I didn't. What? How? What the fuck is this all about?
He drugged her. Like, she talks about it in an episode. He drugged her, got her pregnant. She gets married, and they joke about it constantly throughout the show. She got knocked up and had to get married. He drugged her.
Thank you for being a friend, Golden Girls. 80s.
Is there another Golden Girls?
No. No. What?
No, like, this is what happened on that show. You can look it up. Like, it's she talks about it in the episode where Blanche's daughter is going to go to a sperm bank to get artificially inseminated. And then Dorothy's like, yeah, like, you know, I was asleep when I got pregnant. And she's like, I think he drugged me. Like, they just, but they don't ever, that's not a part of the show at all. They joke about it constantly.
Right.
They joke. He's a major part of the show. Like, it's I think that's a whole lot worse than what they're doing right now. I really think it's because people are
First of all, I don't believe in drugging anybody but yourself.
Exactly. And then you can do whatever you want to yourself.
It's on you.
I think people are really bored right now. Like, if Black Widow and Mulan came out, then those people could be upset about Disney selling out to feminists and SJWs and all that. So they can complain about that and talk about how, oh, look at how the box office is so poor and blah, 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 blah. And if the 007 movie came out, those people could have complained about how, oh, he's so archaic and old school and misogynistic and he stands for white privilege and blah, blah, blah. But since nothing came out, you got to pick on the Golden Girls. You got to pick on Gone with the Wind.
Yeah, well,
you got to pick on Blazing Saddles, like Blake was talking about.
But there's so many things that are also being pulled from like streaming. Like Golden Girls is probably the oldest one, but there's still like I think Scrubs did an episode. There's The Office that did one. There's 30 Rock is like notorious for fucking blackface. So I mean, these are all these shows, and cancel culture has tried to get them every single time. And now that it's so prevalent with, like, you know, Black Lives Matter, okay, there's going to be some things where even like I think Hamilton was a part of this like whole cancel culture this last week, because it's like these people were slave owners. Yes, they are, but they're played by racially diverse cast. But they were picking on Lin-Manuel Miranda because he was supporting this, but when really he's just supporting history, like, to know.
Well,
something.
Right. And, well, so I think the root of this, for me anyway, is censorship, right? In a way, this is just somebody telling you that you shouldn't ingest this because it's bad for you. Well, Who the fuck are they to say? Who the fuck is anybody to say what that is? And the truth of the matter is if you don't, and the Golden Girls thing is ridiculous. It was a mud mask. It wasn't that they were doing blackface, right? Like, and so that's 100% way too far. But even to like the point where you're gonna like censor old books and stuff like that, like if you don't learn from like past stuff, you're like, the whole thing is you're doomed to repeat it, right? And I get that. We want to not repeat racist shit. I get it. However, if you take away shit from people to learn from, that's bad. It's always a bad proposition to not take stuff from the past and learn from it, even if it is considered racist or what. Like, people fucking Mel Brooks, all that kind of stuff. Like, we talk all the time. You can't make Blazing Saddles today. Does that make Blazing Saddles a bad piece of art or satire? No, absolutely not. That was the whole point of that movie. But there's a lot of people now that don't get that, and you're censoring, and just don't censor things at all.
And that's kind of what's happened. Like, I think I honestly think these people don't get satire. I don't think any of them do.
No.
I think they didn't get the joke. But I think that's also why these random jokes are so popular nowadays, because there's no basis for them in anything. Like, racist jokes are awful. But there's basis in a lot of these. Like, if now, to be safe, you just have to say random shit, like call someone a chalupa mixed with a potato or whatever the hell stupid shit. The whole the purple monkey dishwasher thing. Like, none of it makes any sense. But at the very least, you're not going to offend anybody unless they're a purple monkey. But that's no one like we're gonna lose our sense of our sense of humor. I agree with Bill Burr when he says that comedians nowadays who say like they're too afraid to tell jokes, they're just not funny, is what it amounts to. But I think that we're gonna like Blake said, we learn from our past. Like we used to be able to take a social message and kind of at the same time laugh at it. Now you get a social message and it has to be super serious. Like it has to, like, you have to cry about it. You have to be sad and you have to feel ashamed or hurt about it. And all that shit sucks. Like, I mean, I'm part Korean, so when I see stuff about like people saying kung flu and Asians being attacked, like yeah, it's kind of scary, you know. Like I don't understand racism to the extent of some people. I'm not saying that at all, but cancel culture. No one should remake Birth of America, obviously, but it is part of our history.
Right.
It's unfortunate, but that is a part of our history. It's sad. It's really sad, I think. I mean, I'll never watch Gone with the Wind again. I've seen it like once or twice, but I should have the option to not watch it. I shouldn't have it. The cloud sucks. I like to think that I was an early adopter of streaming and stuff like that. Now I wish I bought everything physical because they're going to get all this stuff. We're going to lose Airplane, guys. We're going to lose Airplane.
Bite your fucking tongue. How dare you?
Hey, you want to ask a little boy about whether he's watched Gladiator movies or not? You're out.
You ever seen a grown man naked?
That shit's gone. We're out of here.
Yeah.
Oh, there's actually I won't say it here, but yeah, there's a whole thing on Airplane. Yeah, anyway.
I'll say that I was talking about Airplane with an ex's mom, and she's like, "This movie's so stupid. Like, why would anybody want to watch?"
Go back. What did you just say?
Ex's mom.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was like, you know, you can't like. She's like, nobody with a smart mind should be watching this movie, and I'm like, everybody with a smart mind should watch this movie because you know it's in the Library of Congress or Congress of Library, important note, you know, and it's important to our culture to have this movie, and it's poignant and it had like little like satirical jokes here and there, and she's like, but nobody would get that. I'm like, well, you obviously understand it, so you should take that back. Like, look at yourself. Like, this is a very smart movie. Take back everything you said, because Airplane's a great movie, and I don't want to lose it now.
Now, Airplane 2, on the other hand, maybe we should cancel that.
Yeah.
So, one of the things that we wanted to do on this live episode. Oh, I forgot to tell you guys. Not only is it our first live episode number-wise, this is episode number 75.
Oh shit!
Hey,
yeah,
look at us.
Good for us.
Yeah.
Look at us. And here's my parents didn't think I could go this far.
We can order off the senior menu now.
Movies come.
Downside, you have to eat dinner at 4:00, but we do get a discount now.
I kind of did that anyway.
Yeah.
Liquid dinner anyway.
We wanted to touch on some of the stuff that we're going to talk about over the course of the next few weeks. Our most popular episode that we've ever done is on true crime. So we kind of wanted to give a taste of what we plan to talk about. So consider this a live preview, I guess, of the next 4 or 5 weeks of adventures in movies. Blake, you actually have some firsthand knowledge about an interesting story in El Paso involving a couple from the 60s, I believe it was?
50s.
Oh, wow, that far back.
Yes. So, I used to live in in El Paso. There is what is called the Kern Place, which is actually a really cool, desirable place to live. And I was lucky enough to live there for a short period of time when I was working in the area. And one of the things that like kind of drew me to it is I already knew about this house, right? So I lived about 6 houses down. And my buddy John Ray, who I saw is in our chat, he lived there with me actually. So the Pattersons, it was Margaret and William Patterson. And in 1957, March 5th to be exact, they vanished without a trace, so to speak. And there's lots of speculation as to what exactly transpired with them. There is interviews. There's actually a really great podcast called Gone Cold, which is specifically Texas unsolved mysteries and stuff like that, and true crime. And they covered this. And so business owner in El Paso in the 50s. His wife kind of described as a tiny little woman and very nice. And if you dive into it, there was in talking to their friends, there was something happening not quite right in the days leading up to this, but it doesn't change how weird it was for them to just completely and 100% really drop off the face of the earth. And even in the 50s, that's hard to do. It's hard to just vanish. And speculation ranges from they were Soviet spies, which was very, keen in 1957, to they were murdered by a jealous lover or a business partner, or maybe William murdered his wife and moved on to greener pastures, so to speak, I guess. But highly, highly, highly confusing and confounding. The house I actually walked to one day, and this is kind of embarrassing because I'm such a fan of this kind of stuff. And I went and knocked on their door, and I was like, "Hey, can I know this house. Like, can I look around?" And they were like, "Hell no! Like, what do you know? Of course not. Like, please leave."
How drunk were you?
I was not drunk.
Oh, even better.
So what do you think? What do you think? Oh, I'm sorry. Continue the story.
Well, no. There isn't much that I have to add other than they had a cat. I think the cat went missing before all this stuff, and I think that's usually an indicator of like some foul play within the household. Pets disappearing before people disappearing is pretty tough. I believe that the husband killed his wife and then left to
really?
do so.
That's pretty wild in and of itself.
It's fucking dark as fuck. But I think it's at lowest common denominator. It's like if you boil it down to its essence, I think that what makes the most sense. There's also some rumored correspondence between who was supposedly William Patterson and his former business partners about a year later, in 1958. But who knows? There's never been a trace, nor hide nor hair, found or any evidence thereof after that. So very interesting. I implore everybody to go look it up.
That's super. In El Paso, like you always hear crazy stories, but they're like parking on scenic drive and the car will move by itself type of thing. But you don't hear very well. At least
what do you mean?
Yeah, that happens on a Trans Mountain also. Right?
Yes, it does.
When it's rocking, don't come a knocking. Well, you don't seem to hear too many true crime stories about El Paso. The one that I was going to tell was the one that Blake actually told, but I would argue that the most famous true or serial killer from El Paso is everyone's cousin, from what I can tell.
Oh, right, yeah,
he's the Night Stalker. But even in his case, I couldn't think of. And Blake and I were talking about this. I couldn't think of one movie about the guy.
I don't think there is any movies of his at all.
I mean, there is. No, and there's very few even documentaries or anything about him. He was a disgusting piece of shit, and I think that might be not so appealing to make something about him. But yeah,
I think because he's not like dreamy as Jeffrey Dahmer or anything like that. Like nobody fucking cares. Like
my pal Jeff.
Yeah, amigo Jeff. Like the Night Stalker. Like if you really look at him. He's like, it's like we have him, JJ Arms. Like nobody's gonna
JJ, but he's a lawman. You would say
he's a lawman, but come on, honestly, like the man lost two hands. You would think there would be like some sort of like documentary on him.
Sure.
But, like, nobody wants to make like documentaries out of like freaks from El Paso. I say that with love.
There's plenty of us freaks in El Paso, Danny. I have to say,
it's true.
Yeah. So, Danny, you were you brought up an interesting thing here in our show notes. The Tylenol murders.
Yeah. So Okay, so this is a shout out to my girlfriend, who is now the mother of my child. This is how I got her, I would say.
Oh God!
With this story, with this
Oh.
story, with this story.
Let you poison her with Tylenol.
No. So this is a story. What?
It's your own version of the Golden Girls going on.
The Cosbys.
It's more the Cosbys.
Right? Just get the shovel out. We'll just keep digging that grave.
Manscaped, if you're listening, we're sorry. We do not condone any of this kind of stuff. But no, this is a story that we're breaking the ice, and I knew it because I heard it on the podcast. And this is called the Chicago Tylenol Murders. It was a series of poisoning deaths resulting from drug tampering in the Chicago metropolitan area in 1980s.
You did it.
What?
You got metropolitan out. I was really proud of you.
Yeah. English is not my first language. But you know,
thanks, Monica.
This is one of the things that they were tampering. They were opening the little bottles of aspirin and just putting some potassium cyanide in that, and people were just like dying. And till this day, I don't think anybody has been caught on this. And so now, you know, if you ever notice that there's like the little film over it and the cotton swab, like that pretty much like stopped tampering. So if you ever see the tampering of it, like Johnson & Johnson lost so much like money, and people were just getting at them because it was this one guy, and it went over with copycats over and throughout, like, you know, Bible Belt. But yeah, it was.
Except it was a leave.
Yeah, it was Bayer. Bayer was after that.
I have a bottle of Bayer.
This is gonna sound fucked up, but it's a real question. When you guys watch a true crime documentary or docuseries or whatever, do you prefer that it ends solved or that it ends unsolved? Like, I mean, you know, obviously, like, what you see is usually very awful and gruesome, and you never want that to happen anywhere near you. But for me, like, there's a satisfaction of seeing someone get caught, but then there's that intrigue that goes with the whole, like the Zodiac Killer type of thing. Like, I don't know. I don't know which way I prefer, to be honest.
I like both. I like both.
I like mysteries, man. I like to have the questions to go, like, do my own research and read about and stuff like that. Now, I obviously, you love to hear, you know, finalization out of stuff. Like, there's a famous Jane Doe in Texas. I think Orange Socks is what she was known as for a long time. And they just, through DNA, they were able to identify her. And so, like, that's awesome. That's a great thing. That's you love to hear those stories. But I also kind of love the thrill of the chase is the best way to put it. Like, I really like the intrigue. The Unsolved Mysteries that has recently kind of taken the country by fire has been, it's been great though. It's some of them are better than others. Definitely the UFO one is like the least appealing to me, but lots of questions, lots of stuff to dig into. And I love reading through that stuff. I'll spend hours doing that. So
that's funny. That kind of leads into our next thing. So the UFO one, I same as you, I felt was the most uninteresting one.
Mm-hmm.
I think changing tastes, because I will kind of stick with Unsolved Mysteries for a while. Is, you know, late 80s, early 90s, Unsolved Mysteries was scientifically was proven to be the shit. And like the best episodes were about the ghost stories and the UFOs and all that good stuff. My favorite episode was because Roswell is really close to us. And I remember there was a segment on Unsolved Mysteries about Roswell. Everybody at school was talking about it the next day. I absolutely loved it. But you're right, in this new revival, and it's not the revival's fault. They've done an excellent job of it. UFO stories just aren't as interesting as they once were for whatever reason.
Our audience is about to find out.
Yeah.
Though our most watched YouTube video is about close encounters of the not first, second, third, or fourth kind. Fifth.
I was like, where's my camera?
What do you guys think, aside from technology? why do you guys think that UFOs just don't have the same appeal that they once did?
I think is now that the government is like saying that they're true, I think the mystery is kind of like fading away. That documentary that we just made fun of, it didn't. I stopped
How we
caring.
made fun of, that's so funny.
I wasn't making fun of it.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was making fun of it in my head, but that it's just such a like silly movie. It didn't really like point out anything from it. There's a YouTube thing that we did. You could go on that on this very same page. No, we'll still see us, but I think just because as a government is like showing that there is some sort of knowledge, that whole mystery is gone away. Like it's not like where it's like fire in the sky like in the early 90s or even like the 70s. I don't know. I personally stopped caring. Like I just don't care anymore. Like mystery's gone.
You know what? I think you actually brought up the key point. Like once the government starts acknowledging things, it takes the fun out of it, basically. I don't think it's an age thing because I mean, as you get older, of course, your eyes open up and you learn a little bit more, and you realize some stuff is sillier than others. But there's some, people well into their 40s and 50s who will tell you without a doubt that there are flying saucers out there. So,
well, it's weird to me because we've never been more connected and with cameras in our pockets at all times and video devices and all that shit. Like you would think the 21st century would be just like YouTube would be fucking half fucking UFO fucking footage if it was happening all the time, right? And so I would say anymore, if there is something, I guess it's more compelling, but I don't know. It's so much easier to disprove stuff nowadays because of that I think to me, that's why I mean, crop circles were cool to me in 1993. I don't. When was the last time you heard about that? So
it went out with Jenkos
and Pogs.
Where I think it left like with Bat Boy and all that stuff. Like once like the National Enquirer became more.
I'm thinking of the picture in my head.
I love Bat Boy.
Everybody loves Bat Boy.
I think once that like they became like what is that fucking Alex Jones stuff like that kind of.
Oh, don't bring that asshole.
Like I mean, well, that kind of like bullshit shit. Like who like they're like more serious like news. Like I mean, fuck it. I stopped. That's when I stopped caring. Like give me more crop circles, less news about like Obama having cancer.
You know what's the Blake? You brought up YouTube. You know what's funny? Like there is less of an interest because you don't even see hoaxes of UFOs all over YouTube.
No,
like there's pranks and there's reaction videos and there's people who go onto OnlyFans, so I don't have to pay to go onto OnlyFans. there's no UFO stuff. Like you had an interesting UFO story that actually happened to you.
I did. Yeah, I don't know how interesting it is, but I did. So,
wait, I had one, but you had it on.
Well, yeah, I'll tell my short one real quick. So I was probably senior in high school, and I was sitting at my next door neighbor's place, and we were like, he was my good buddy, so we were hanging out outside on the bench. Like, I don't know if we were drinking beer. Probably no, we were underage. Definitely not drinking beer.
You're drinking beer.
We were definitely drinking beer. But I remember like, and so there's not far from El Paso is Holloman Air Force Base and White Sands Missile Range. So literally this area is known for weird shit in the sky for literally decades. And I only presume that this was some military thing or rocket or something, but I'm watching, low across the horizon, I can see a light and it's traveling fast with another light. So there's two lights going very fast, low to the horizon. And all of a sudden, one of those lights went like a fucking shooting star, like out of sight, while the other one continued to do its thing. And so what we talked about this on a past show, like, do I believe in UFOs? Yeah, I believe in there's unexplained shit that I can see in the sky. Absolutely. Is that an alien? No. No. but it
Your
was
sense of
definitely interesting.
cancel culture is taking your childhood from you.
Yeah, exactly.
I actually, now this happened to me in 4th or 5th grade, so this is through the prism of childhood.
So you were definitely drinking beer like I was.
I was drunk off my ass, walking home from school. My sister and I were stumbling home from school, and this is back on the east side before they had built all the everything there, and we were walking on by Montwood, and there was this it was undeveloped land, and there was this big hill. It was covered in glass, and every time like we would walk by with kids have stories like, oh, there used to be a Coke factory here or a bottle factory here, and it was destroyed by a sandstorm or whatever. People would say they heard this and that. But anyway, we're walking by there, and I look up in the sky, and it's 3:30, 4 o'clock or whatever, really bright, shooting across the sky is like a shooting star, but with like rainbow, brightly lit, fiery rainbow behind it. So I tell everybody, look, there's a UFO up there. Nobody sees it, right? So everybody thinks I'm full of shit, even though they're talking about tornadoes destroying a glass factory in El Paso, Texas. I'm the crazy one.
You know what I think you saw? A unicorn.
Before.
Well, that would make more sense. But I forced my sister to stay up that night, and we watched the news. And on the news, it was reported that they had many phone calls where people had seen something in the sky. I, for certain, saw a flying saucer, and I think someone was in a window waving at me. I'm not quite sure, but that's how I remember it.
Wow,
that's really good.
True story, except for the waving at me thing. Just in case you believe that. So Danny mentioned Bat Boy. So one of the things we're going to cover later or in the upcoming weeks is cryptids and folklore here in the Southwest and in El Paso. And we're not going to limit it to this part of the country, but there's some stories here. I've heard the term La Llorona a lot, but I just know it means wailing woman, but I don't know the story behind it. I'm going to ask you, Danny. I hope no one gets offended.
I hope not. Right? How many fucks can I say in this?
All the fucks, Danny.
All the fucks. All right, awesome.
Oh shit! You're live, but I set this to suitable for children.
Oh no! Damn it!
Hey, depends on the kid.
Hey, there you go.
There you go. There you go. If he's drunk off his ass already, great for him. You're doing good, kid. So the La Llorona is essentially she is crying for her children because they were drowned by her, and that's how I really remember it. That's I think the notes because my parents scared the shit out of me with it. So essentially, you don't go near any rivers, and at least in like our region, like because we have the Rio Grande or
the Franklin Canal, bro.
Yeah, that little thing that's right next door to us. It's they would say like this lady would be crying for her children, and you could always see like this like little transparent thing like just passing by, and you never want to stop because sometimes you would just disappear, and if you had children, your children would be murdered essentially. But to my knowledge, that's what it is, and my Mexican folklore is not at its best as it should be, I think.
So it's an incredibly cool and scary story, though, right? It's like don't go near the water because a woman will drown your ass in it, like a ghost woman who's screaming about her dead kids. It's a scary story.
It's very scary. I can't wait to tell my child about it.
Do it now.
Ever watch the movie on Hulu? It's like an original, not the Blumhouse one, but there's an original one that I saw that it's scary, but not like frightening scary. Like it's pretty shitty. Like, it's
like shitty movie or shitty like situations.
No, not even that. If it had shitty situations, then it would be memorable. It's just a really bad horror movie.
Oh, okay.
So this has actually got me thinking, and I'm sorry to throw this off the cuff here, but have you guys heard of the Double Eagle? You know, the Double Eagle bar and restaurant in Mesilla, New Mexico?
Oh, yes, yeah.
Okay, so do you know the ghost story behind that place?
No, I don't.
Do you not?
No.
Oh my God, I'm super excited to tell you. Okay, so in like it was an old like a hacienda ranch house in like turn of the century, so 1899, 1900, right around there. Basically Old West, right? And the current bar, which is my favorite bar in the entire area, it's a like 100-year-old bar. The house itself, they turned into this restaurant and bar. And the story behind it is there was the ranch owners had a son who, you know, I guess back then they wanted to marry him into some kind of other rich ranch family in the area, but he, like, you know, classic story, fell in love with somebody he shouldn't have, quote unquote, and his mother caught them in bed together in the house, and scandalous stains on the sheets, and she proceeded to stab them to death.
Oh,
both of them. And so there's a dining room at the Golden Double Eagle that is the bedroom which that place happened. And so you can reserve it and you can go in there, and they have all these incredible stories about like these chairs that wear out when nobody sits in them, and there's all these pictures on the wall of like apparitions and pictures. And I'm there often. And it is one of my favorite parts about it is it's kind of eerie. It's kind of an eerie, dark place. Dark lights. They don't have a lot of lighting, and it's really cool. And when you go in there and you talk to the staff, which I've done numerous times, like they all have some kind of unique ghost story to tell, and each one of them is different. Somebody saw somebody walk in that there was a full flesh and blood person they talked to, they vanish, or that's just a feeling, or a glass got knocked over, or I took a picture and there's something in the picture. There's a litany of experiences to happen down there. So yeah, Double Eagle in Mesilla, New Mexico, worth checking out. Go get a drink at the bar.
Sticking with El Paso and pictures with people in it, they should be El Paso High, very known for like it. And now that's a place, because there's so many horror movies about they're based on American folklore. I'm very surprised, unless I've missed it, that there's never ever been a movie that's even based on El Paso High, even one that's like set in Butte, Montana.
Right.
It's really surprising to me, but I think the most of have you guys been there before?
Yes.
Yeah. But I mean, like 20 years ago. But yeah.
When you walk in and they have that giant tiger, and they're like, even when you walk into the place, it's super scary.
It is.
It just has an aura about it. Of course, you've heard the stories ahead of time, so that kind of amplifies it. Yeah. But I think the biggest story that comes out of there is it was in the 80s, and there was like a class picture, and there's a woman or a girl, I guess, who's in the picture, who no one from that class remembers being there at all. Like they swear that person that enters, she's not in the yearbook. There's no records of her. Nobody can place her. She also appears in a picture from like the 50s or 60s or something like that. People swear it's the same person. And if you look online, it actually looks like the girl from The Ring, but it's same effect or whatever. But and El Paso High, like there's janitors who say that lights turn on and things appear behind them. I was a jock in high school, and I played tennis. And I'm telling you, like their locker rooms they're pretty scary. I think it's because they haven't been cleaned since like the 60s or 70s.
They smell like piss from 1966.
They also have a fallout shelter there, which is then I went to a fallout shelter there.
That whole neighborhood actually is full of fucking old fallout shelters. Yeah. It's awesome.
Yeah. I used to live in Sunset Heights, and in our basement of our house, you can go open it up, and there was a tunnel that I don't know how far it went. I don't think it went very far, but they had started digging a tunnel down there.
That's like the old Pancho Villa,
the Pancho Villa, like
those are like the smuggling tunnels.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I guess they were. This one was it might have caved in or something. I don't know, but it was. You can only go in like maybe 10 feet, but it's pretty crazy. It's pretty, and I'm surprised that El Paso is. Yeah, exactly. You could just get the tip in, and then you still leave satisfied. Though you get what you want. It's pretty awesome. But it surprises me that there's not more stories about El Paso. Kind of moving away from folklore, going into the cryptids. We have the chupa, like
the drunk. That's what my mom called it. Chupa.
Is that? Oh, I meant the El Chup. Is that the correct one? Like if I say La Chup, it's the drunk.
I mean, it doesn't matter. La Chupa, I think, is because it's. Yeah, John Ray's right. Lower Valley is downtown Lloronaville. That shit is scary.
Yeah.
The Chupa, isn't that Chupacabra? Like that's how. Is that what we're?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I would always forget the second half of it, so I would just call it the Chup.
I remember when the Chupacabra started coming out, like in the news, like, well, not the news. I'm sorry. Primer Impacto. I don't even know what that.
Oh, I fucking love Primer Impacto.
Primer
I
Impacto.
remember that.
Yeah, so that's how I remember La Chupacabra, which is the goat sucker. I think that's what it would come to. Goat.
Which was my nickname before I got the Lawnmower 3.0.
Mine was the Wailing Woman.
Oh, thanks, Manscaped.
Thank you.
Oh boy! So cryptids.
This usually gets edited out. This is the part where it gets edited out.
We were gonna have
This
one.
is the part where normally it would be edited, but unfortunately, ain't happening tonight. So I would say that Bigfoot is the most popular one. It's kind of the same thing with UFOs, though. I hear a lot. I don't even think I ever heard the term cryptozoology before 5 or 6 years ago, but it doesn't seem as popular or important as it was when I was a child. So I guess my same question to you would be like, do you think there's been a drop off, or is it just because maybe we've moved on? Because it seems like there's more societies about it too. When I hear about it, they seem more heavily into it than when I was a child. But when I was a child, I would hear more about it. So I don't know. I don't know if it's me or if it's just the.
Well, did you see recently trending on Twitter #1 for about all day was Loch Ness Monster? Did you see that?
What happened?
So look that shit up. There's a fresh pic, hot fresh pic, of something in Loch Ness. I think it's like a really gigantic catfish, which truly is a monster and is scary as shit. But
but catfishes don't have necks that are like that.
Well, if it's the neck's underwater and it's just a hump or whatnot, that's what
it's just a thing.
Yeah, well, right. Yeah. It's just a solid mass. Yeah. No, but I think people love that stuff. And I think if there's any little any little glimmer of hope for that shit to be real, people just pile on, they just want to jump all over it. And I get it. I love that stuff too. And I would love to believe that there is like some old dinosaur swimming around Loch Ness. Nah, there probably isn't. But, and I think that gets back to what I was saying about the UFO stuff. We're just full of cameras and we can broadcast whatever we want live like assholes anytime we want. And
like right now.
Yeah. And so if there was Bigfoot, if there was Loch Ness, if there was, Champ or Jersey Devil, you would think people would catch some shit on their trail cameras, right? I don't know. I think that's why it doesn't get such a big draw anymore.
And I would kind of hate like Loch Ness. I think of that one picture, and then Bigfoot is the strolling picture. I would kind of hate for there to be fresh pictures because those are classic. Yeah. They're iconic. Yeah. Those pictures should never. I mean, high def versions of those would be really cool, but otherwise, that goes back to the mystery. Like, I think you could just kind of get into Loch Ness and pretty much drain it, right? Like you could figure out. I don't think that'd be too difficult.
Turn all that water into Jameson.
delicious Jameson.
Is Loch Ness in Scotland?
Is it? I don't fucking know.
All right, I don't know.
But whatever.
Somewhere on that. That's okay. I was gonna make an off-color joke about Scott. So
glad we did.
Instead, we show how we're very knowledgeable where Scotland is.
Exactly. Also, we're very knowledgeable. We have the jokes to tell. We just keep them inside. So I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, to be honest with you.
Or trash.
Thank you, everybody, for joining our first ever live episode of Adventures in Movies. if you're listening to this on your normal time, you're listening to a replay of a live episode. Thanks for sitting through this. We really
Thanks, John.
appreciate
Thanks,
your
Monica.
support. Thank you, John. Thank you, Monica. Thank you, Ricky, who hopped off somewhere in the there. But thank you, everyone, for sticking around. Really appreciate it. You can actually follow Adventures in Movies on Twitter, is what Danny's going to tell you about. But what I want to let you know is that every Saturday you can find us here. The rest of the week you can go to adventuresinmovies.com, or you can check out adventuresinpoortaste.com. And this is why live shows kind of suck. You can go to adventuresinpoortaste.com. We have Talking Tauntauns, we have Poor Taste Wrestling, and we have our general comics podcast. We also have a bunch of articles. I actually reviewed a short film called Squeegee. It's about a woman who has an erotic rendezvous with a window washer.
Ooh.
Lust and Love, Social Distancing, really funny. It's a sex comedy, super topical, super fun, incredibly erotic.
Is it called Mushroom Print? What's it called?
Squeegee.
It's called Squeegee.
Okay.
And the lettering kind of it's squeegee looking. But, it's on the website. It's free. Check it out. Also, as we've kind of mentioned throughout the show, we have our quick and dirty version of this. I don't know how we're going to do it, but quick and dirty version of Adventures in Movies is on YouTube. Also, Adventures in Movies looks at ... is on every week. This week, I don't know what we're going to do. We're going to maybe kind of argue our case for movies, or I don't know. We'll think of something. But
watch the Incoherence one again.
Yeah, we will have something definitely for sure for y'all. But yeah, that's all I got, Danny.
I think this is where I come in now because we're live. I wasn't there for Incoherence, but you can follow Adventures in Movies over on Twitter at AIPT Movies. You can follow us individually. You can find Nathaniel, or Pat, as I like to call him, over on Instagram at Nathan Port Taste. You can find me, Danny, over on Twitter and Instagram at default_player. I just did a Ringo Starr Simpsons thing. Go like it, please. It helps my ego. Right now. You can find Blake on Twitter.
Oh, you
motherfucker. God
damn it, Danny. You couldn't do it live.
I couldn't do it live. I got the plow. God dang it. Let's do this again. I know this is live. You can find Blake OnlyFans on Twitter, Forehead Horror. And I had it there. God dang it.
Oh, please do. Look us up. Talk to us. Next week, I have decided that we're going to really dive into cryptids. So let's talk about some cryptids next week on the podcast. Please tune in.
And you can find us on Apple Podcasts. You can find us on Spotify. You might be able to find us on Stitcher. That's something of an unsolved mystery there. But you could definitely go to the website where we're there. Let me see. Make sure to give us a rating wherever you listen to us, or just tell a friend to listen. This is live. Do I do the whole and that's our cue? We'll talk to you next week.
This is live.
Adios, everybody. Still says live.
Yeah.